People often talk about the 12 days of Christmas, saying that the Christmas season doesn't end after the actual day of Christmas passes, but rather that Christmas itself is the start of the 12-day celebration. But they may not be so excited to keep the celebration going that long if they knew about this witch who hunted her victims at the end of the 12 days. This is the story of Frau Perchta, the Alpine Christmas witch. Sometimes called Bertha, Frau Perchta is a witch/demon originating from the Alpine regions of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. In these countries, she is commonly referred to as the spinning room lady, usually described as a very old woman with a beaked nose made of iron and one of her feet being abnormally large. The large foot was called a goose foot by storytellers, and it is believed that this, in a roundabout way, led to the tradition of people eating goose for Christmas dinner. More scholars see this as a symbol of her being able to shift into animal form to watch how people behave throughout the year, and it was meant to be the foot that people used to work the spinner on a loom, which will actually make a lot of sense very soon. Stories also say Perchta is dressed in all rags, which makes one of her primary reasons for visiting homes rather ironic, as she is known to break into homes where the owner has left a big mess during the Christmas season. The 12 days of Christmas is supposed to be the time where citizens would bring out their large looms and do all their weaving for the new year. If the household owners failed to finish all their spinning by January 6th, the end of the 12 days of Christmas, they would earn a visit from Perchta. This usually meant she would set fire to everything they spun up to that point, but if their living space was also a mess, that meant she would sneak into their bedrooms while they were sleeping. Then she would disembowel the guilty citizens, replace their guts with rocks and straw, then sew them back up before leaving. Slightly different versions of Frau Perchta's story have been told over the years, but essentially in every version, she is the enforcer of ancient Christmas traditions who specifically targeted people who were messy, lazy, or greedy. She was often associated with the more famous Christmas monster Krampus, which makes sense given her other aspects. One being that she would often abduct children who had been bad throughout the year, then walk the streets of the bad children squirming in her sack and pleading for their lives. This was something she did as a warning to all citizens to be good and follow the traditions if they wanted to avoid any of her punishments. It was also common for Perchta to blind people who attempted to spy on her. The person's sight would eventually come back on its own, but again, this was a warning to follow the traditions and not interfere with her work. Some stories also describe her as having horned furry minions who bear a striking resemblance to Krampus. These minions, known as Perchten, were actually the souls of unbaptized children who fell victim to her abductions. It is said that for the last 3 Thursdays before Christmas, Perchta leads these Perchten on the Wild Hunt. The Wild Hunt is something that is described in various pieces of European mythology. It's usually a time during winter where undead creatures and gods would ride across the night sky and abduct anyone unlucky enough to be outdoors during those cold winter nights. Sometimes being caught in a wild hunt, by Perchta or any other creature, meant that you would randomly be dropped off at some other spot far from where you were and would have to find your way back. But other times, especially with Perchta, if you were caught, you belonged to her. Forever. Thank you all for watching this scary Christmas myth video. If you want to see more, then watch my other videos about Gryla, Krampus, the Yule Cat, and other horrifying creatures of this normally happy holiday. Merry Christmas, and see you all next Halloween.